Good evening, Browns fans, and welcome to the premiere of our pre-recorded draft show, 2QB or not 2QB. In this program, each member of the OBR team will offer up their opinions on what the Browns should do with the second pick in the draft. We'll return live tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. for the OBR Draft Cave 2025 throughout the draft, all Thursday, Friday, Saturday long. We'll see you then. But for now, here's 2QB or not 2QB.
I think the Browns are going to end up taking Abdul Carter at 2. Just the best player in the draft as far as they're concerned. Arguably the best athlete in the draft. I think the idea that they have to take offense is a little bit overblown because they're going to be in the same position next year and overcorrect one way or the other. So I'm not too worried about it. And then at 33, or whatever pick ends up being the second round pick, I think they're going to end up with Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama. They're going to get arguably the two most dynamic players in the entire draft that caused the biggest amount of fear in their opponents. But we'll see how it ends up working out. But that's where I've got it. Abdul Carter and Jalen Milroe. We'll see how it goes.
Absolutely fired up for Draft Cave 2025 at the OBR streaming network. QB or not to 2 QB. Easier said than done. I don't, as we've known for some time, probably not a QB at 2. My selection or who I think will be the pick at 2 is Travis Hunter, and I fully support the pick. If it was Abdul Carter, I would have no issue with it. There are 3 blue chip players in this draft, if you count Cam Ward, which I do. But he is going 1 overall. And Travis Hunter, I think, can be a special player. Certainly all the data and the film, I think, lends itself to him playing more offense, being primarily an offensive player first. Any questions about what role he will play, I think that if the Browns select him, then that means they've had those conversations with him and they're comfortable with how he will split up snaps on defense. But for me, he's a wide receiver first and foremost, and whatever he can do on defense is a bonus. And he can add some polish as a wide receiver as well. If you choose Abdul Carter, then absolutely, that's a great pick as well. I think that both are kind of safe picks in my mind. I'm good either way, but for me at this point, I think it will be Travis Hunter, and I'm all for that as long as they execute the plan properly, which I think for me, I trust Stefanski to do that. I think they look at him as an offensive weapon the same way that I do. So can't wait to get it started, ladies and gentlemen, and fire it up for Draft Cave 2025 here at the OBR. We'll see you then.
This is Casey Kenneman with the OBR. 2 QB or not 2 QB? That is the question. For me, the answer is kind of simple. The only quarterback I view as having a high enough ceiling to get that kind of draft equity at the second overall pick is Cam Ward. He's going to be long gone. So the Browns are staring dead down the barrel at 2 blue chip prospects. You have Travis Hunter, you have Abdul Carter. I don't see a wrong answer here. So for me, it comes down to preference. And I prefer Travis Hunter. And the reason I'm leaning Hunter is because if both of these players reach their absolute ceilings, Hunter just affects the game in more ways. And even if he doesn't become this full-time two-way player, and if it's just limited packages, I think he has the ability to be an upper echelon wide receiver. And I don't like putting comps on players, but when I just look at his skill set and his body type, I see an Odell Beckham type of player who could be maybe even a Justin Jefferson. And if he reaches that to me, that's worth the second overall pick. So when I look at these 2 prospects, I'm leaning Travis Hunter, and I can't wait to see what the Browns do with the second overall pick.
I refuse.
Why are tomatoes being thrown into the mix here?
I don't have many fears in this world. Tomato is one of them. I cannot eat a tomato. I cannot see someone eat a tomato. If a
Why
tomato
are
is
you
on
afraid
any
of tomatoes,
dude,
dude?
tomatoes are the worst thing ever. They taste like bitter disappointment.
The Browns have a unique opportunity to take a true difference maker at the top of this draft. There's two top tier options that I think they'll have an opportunity to choose from, and I don't think they can go wrong with either player. That's Penn State's edge rusher Abdul Carter or wide receiver cornerback Travis Hunter from Colorado. If the Titans happen to be smoke screening about quarterback Cam Ward and pick someone else, I'd consider him, but he's really the only quarterback I'd consider here. But he was on Twitch last night streaming Fortnite and listing Titans players and coaches almost exclusively as his favorites in the NFL, so I don't see that happening. With that said, it just comes down to what the Browns value more. For me, I think I'd take Travis Hunter. He won the Blitnikoff Award while having to learn plays as he ran onto the field, and the Chuck Benderek Award for Best Defensive Player in the country in 2024. He's got genuine award-winning skills on both sides of the ball, and because he's been playing both sides for as long as he has, his unique understanding of conditioning and what it takes to get where he is, because he didn't get here by accident. He's a true unicorn prospect in multiple senses, and he can make a huge difference with the Browns in 2025.
My answer to the 2 QB or not 2 QB question is probably pretty similar to others. Barring anything unforeseen, Cam Ward is going to go first overall. If he didn't, I would be comfortable taking him at number 2. I think he's that talented of a quarterback prospect. I would have him ranked 4th overall among all the quarterbacks in last year's class, and that's not a slight to Ward. I think he's the arm talent and the mental makeup to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. There are certainly some concerns in his profile that might prevent him from reaching that potential, but that's a chance that I would be willing to take because of the potential payoff at number 2. If that doesn't happen, either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter are my 2 options. I think Travis Hunter is a special talent. I would have him play cornerback full-time and then have him get around 10 to 15 snaps per game at wide receiver. However, that comment that he recently made about quitting football if he's not allowed to play full-time, that might rub some people the wrong way. Even before that, I am Team Abdul Carter. I think he's a borderline generational pass rusher, to use that cliche. I think he just has exceptional ability. He is an insane athlete. I think he has a lot of power in his frame, more than people give him credit for, and that's something that can also be improved, as well as his technique, because he's only been a full-time edge for 1 season. So I think the sky is the limit for him. He's a versatile player. You can align him in a lot of different ways to scare the heck out of quarterbacks, and I think he and Myles Garrett would form an absolutely unstoppable duo. And so if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I would be very, very content to take Abdul Carter at 2 overall and have a foundational piece for the second generation of this defense.
2 QB or not 2 QB, the question that Billy Shakespeare himself was asking those many, many years ago when he was thinking ahead to the 2025 Cleveland Browns and their draft strategy. This is so simple for me. Unless for some reason Tennessee decides not to draft Cam Ward at number 1, my answer is a very easy no QB. I'm not going to QB at number 2 unless Cam Ward is on the board, which is not going to happen. For me, I don't think there is a quarterback in this draft that would be worth selecting at 2 over one of these 2 elite talents that the Cleveland Browns are going to get to pick between at that number 2 overall pick. And I don't think you can leave this draft without either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. For me, if I'm making the pick, I'm picking Travis Hunter. I know the love for Abdul Carter is real because I have it. If the Browns wind up with Abdul Carter, I will do a backflip. Not really, because I will hurt myself, but I'd be thrilled. I think this whole talk that you can't draft Abdul Carter because you already have Myles Garrett and you don't need that position or whatever is nonsense. If you can throw both of those guys out there attacking the quarterback together at the same time, you have already given yourself an advantage in the game. But for me, I believe in what Travis Hunter can do. I believe in what he is, and I believe he has shown it. Everywhere he has been elite. I think he is an elite wide receiver. I think he is an elite cornerback, and I absolutely believe that you can use him on both sides of the ball. I believe in Kevin Stefanski and his coaching staff to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and take advantage of all the tools that Travis Hunter brings. I think he's a unicorn type player. I think he has a chance to be a generational type player. and I absolutely want to have him and build my team around him. So I would take Travis Hunter. I'd be thrilled with Abdul Carter, but I'm not taking a quarterback at 2. And to be honest with you, and I know this is crazy because I know the quarterback room still needs players, but if they don't get, I got 3 guys in this draft: Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, and Jalen Milroe. And if the Browns don't have access to one of those 3 guys at any point in the draft, I would be more than okay with the Browns saying not to QB for the remainder of the draft. I don't want to select some mid quarterback, even if it's later in the later rounds, in hopes that he might defy the odds and become a great quarterback. I'd rather have them fill other holes on the team, and we can address quarterback a different way. So for me, not to QB is the answer. We'll see what they do this week. Go Browns. I have found it very funny, especially doing what we do with the OBR. And I've become a little bit more involved on the Brown side of things with the OBR. I find it very funny that if you're an OBR subscriber, you find out things pretty early.
Yeah.
And then like there was like, I want to say, I can't remember. Maybe it was Mary Kay. There was like a Mary Kay Cabot post that came out from Cleveland.com that was like, well, now Mary Kay is thinking that maybe the Browns aren't going to pick a quarterback. At
Oh
2
my
overall.
God.
It's like, what? We've been talking about that the whole time.
So I got really excited when reached out to QB or not to QB. I thought we were discussing drafting 2 QBs. That the analytics nerd in me loved the prospect of. We remember what happened with Kirk Cousins when he was just this second choice late in the draft and it all worked out. So am I drafting a quarterback at 2? The answer is no. Cam Ward would have been someone that I would consider taking, but he's going to be gone. That's been locked up for ages. We knew that in free agency when there was one rumor that they might sign Carson Wentz. That said it all. They are not taking anything other than Cam Ward at quarterback. So what do the Browns do? And there's an interesting stat out there. If you look back to last season, the Browns led the league in pressure, some metrics that Cleve TA's put out. And part of that, me thinks, well, adding more pressure to the number 1 pass rush and pressure rating D-line in the league is not the solution. Because if that's the answer, we're first. We'd already seen the results last year. So let's look to the offensive side of the ball. Go get Travis Hunter, work it out, wide receiver, play a bit of corner. I don't mind too much. Personally, if someone wants to offer a trade back and give me a first-round pick, I'm all for jumping back in the draft and we'll add more players and go that route. But I think that's unlikely. So go and get Travis Hunter, because adding more pressure is not going to achieve the results people think it will. So where are we going to get our quarterback? If we get to pick 33, Milroe's sat on the board, I'm willing to take a swing. But if he's not, I'm cool walking away and going another direction. Get a tackle. Josh Conley's potentially going to be there. That's a direction I'd happily go. I'm not panicked if we end up at a calm accord on day 3 of the draft, something like that. But take a swing, throw something at a wall and see if it works. Because the answer, if you don't genuinely believe a quarterback is good enough to go in this draft at 2, why are we messing around wasting pick 33 or wasting pick 33 and 67 to trade up and get one? Because if you thought they were that good, you'd just take them at 2.
I am sure that throughout today's episode of 2QB or not 2QB, you've all been saying to yourself, well, what does a web dork think? Okay? So unless the Titans do something expected and pass on Cam Ward, the web dork is not picking a quarterback with the 2nd selection. There are some quarterbacks in the draft with potential, but none that I love at that pick. To me, it comes down to offense versus defense. Travis Hunter versus Abdul Carter. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these guys. I love both of them. But my personality is to be a bit risk averse. I don't want the guy who may not succeed for some reason. There are a lot of reasons to go with Travis Hunter. I think he made Shadur Sanders look like a better quarterback in Colorado, and he would make the eventual Browns quarterback look better as well. He's scary. He grabs anything that comes close to him. He rarely drops the ball. And I, of course, remember that this team would have won a lot more games last year if they could just score more than 20 points. The fact that he can help on defense is an important bonus, but I'm looking at him mostly as a wide receiver who can help out on offense. So I wouldn't be disappointed with a Travis Hunter selection at all, but if it's a risk-averse web dork that's picking, I'm going to select Abdul Carter. And that's because, as accomplished as both of these players are, it's my Big Ten bias. I think Carter did it against NFL-ready competition. and Hunter did it against future UFL players. It's just a little bit safer for me to take Carter. Carter was absolutely dominant in college, and the Penn State defense was very different when he was on the field. The NFL seems to be changing a little. A bit more back to the run, a bit more about winning in trenches. And I watched the havoc that teams like the Eagles and Texans created last year, and I want some of that in Cleveland. Again, I really both like both players, but if I'm picking, it's Abdul Carter.
We've been talking this for a while now. I'm ready personally to get the draft here and get it over with and find out what the Browns are going to do. It really comes back to what we talked about before the start of this whole process. It comes down to what the Browns brain trust. I'm talking Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, what they think of these quarterbacks. I've been writing about it. I feel like the Browns are never going to get anywhere until they get the quarterback right. And I don't think that's changed. But you can't manufacture a quarterback if they're not there in the draft. With that said, I feel Cam Ward, by most accounts, is the best one. I think he looks to me like he would be a franchise quarterback. But unfortunately for the Browns, this is a year they draft second, and there's only one of them perceived. And so I would make one last push if I'm the Browns just to see if the Titans are totally committed to Cam Ward or if they could be persuaded to move off of that and swap spots, obviously depending on the price. With that assumption is that Cam Ward will go to the Titans. The Browns are sitting at number 2. I like Abdul Carter and I like Travis Hunter. I have, in the last few weeks, I have come over to the Travis Hunter camp from the aspect of the Browns are offensively challenged. They finished dead last year, 32, ranked 32nd. They scored 15 points a game. So I want offensive playmakers across the board. Hunter is the best offensive player on the board. Carter's the best defensive player on the board. But the dual factor that you could pick your spots and play a guy like Hunter on offense and defense, he's going to help your defense if he's playing, in passing downs at cornerback opposite Denzel Ward. He's much better than Greg Newsome or MJ Emerson. So I think that helps your defense, and it certainly helps your offense having a deep, playmaker there. So when you look at that whole side of it, that makes the most sense between Carter and Hunter. I'd love to make the case for him with Garrett, that being Carter, but I just think they're more offensive challenge. Going back to the quarterback, I don't think the signing of Joe Flacco, as I wrote about, changes anything. It's not cost prohibitive to get another quarterback if Kirk Cousins were to become available through being bought out or released or anything other than assuming that contract. So when you put that together, Shedeur Sanders, by all accounts, is the second best quarterback in the draft. If the Browns think he's better than Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco and have closed the door on the Kirk Cousins thing, then I don't know why you wouldn't take him, because you need a quarterback that can run the offense. But with that said, if you don't think he's much different than Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe, then you don't force the pick at 2. But the caveat is if you don't take a quarterback at 2, there's no guarantee you're going to get any of the ones that you might like, because teams, you can say you can trade up, but there's no guarantee you're going to get a trade partner, or you would be able to give up enough to satisfy, a place to trade. So that's the catch-22 they're in. They need a quarterback, and I'm not sold on Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. And, what it costs to get Kirk Cousins, if you assume that contract, is out of reason. So I really think if they believe in Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe, you find a way to get that done, because otherwise This time next year, write it down in April of 2026, we're sitting here making the exact same video. Who are the Browns going to draft at quarterback because they need a franchise quarterback? And until they get that situated and solved, it's going to be the same thing year in, year out. Believe me, I've seen this for way too many years. So right today, my pick is Travis Hunter.
This is Jeff Lloyd from Browns 3D here on the OBR, and we are all taking a little time here and giving you our thoughts on what the best possible scenario is for the Cleveland Browns with the number 2 overall selection in the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, if you asked all of us if quarterback and one you felt could get the job done for the Browns was available at number 2 overall, I think all of us here at the OBR would stand together in unison and say, absolutely, go get the quarterback. Things broke well for the Browns. They ended up with the number 2 overall selection. They ended up with money if they wanted to manipulate their salary cap to acquire one through free agency or a trade. But as we were saying since January when I first joined the OBR, unfortunately, this is just not the year to be looking for a franchise quarterback unless you're the Tennessee Titans who are about to select Cam Ward. So that puts you down to looking at 2 possible players. Wide receiver, and I'm saying wide receiver because that's what he would play with the Browns, Travis Hunter out of Colorado, or in my opinion, defensive end and pass rush specialist Abdul Carter out of Penn State. You've heard me talk for a couple of months now, and although I do have my concerns with Travis Hunter, I do think Travis Hunter is an extremely gifted talent that should translate well at the wide receiver position with the NFL. I don't like building my offense from back to front without any idea of who the quarterback of the future is. It's kind of hard to say, okay, well, here are all the weapons that quarterback's going to have. Normally, you find the quarterback and you build the weapons around the quarterback. My other big concern, and this hasn't to do with Hunter, it has to do with the team overall, is whatever offensive player is selected at number 2 overall is not, in my opinion, going to take what was almost a all-time bad NFL offense in 2024 and now transform it. It's going to be more than just one player to transform the offensive side of the football for the Browns. However, on the defensive side of the ball, I lost a lot of pass rush pressures from Dalvin Tomlinson. I lost a lot of pass rush pressures from Zadarius Smith. If I were to draft a guy like Abdul Carter, and I understand that's maybe the only significant draft pick I can give to the defense, it should tremendously improve the overall defense. So for me, Travis Hunter is a great player, but he is not going to do for the offense what Abdul Carter can do for the Cleveland Browns defense. Take the pass rusher, take Abdul Carter from Penn State University.
2 QB or not 2 QB? That's been the question that Browns fans have been debating. Well, I was going to say this whole offseason since January, but really ever since that 1-6 start with Deshaun Watson looking the way he looked, that's when the conversations really began. And then the Browns, of course, get the 2nd overall pick. And so we've gone back and forth and debated on who should be that 2nd overall pick. For me, looking at it, unless it's Cam Ward, unless for some reason the Titans decide to pass on him and he's there at 2, I would run the card up. Take Cam Ward. Absolutely think he's got a lot of upside. But outside of that, I just don't think the lemon's worth the squeeze. I don't think the juice you're going to get out of any of these players, especially right away, is going to be equivalent of the 2nd overall pick. Especially considering you got guys like Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter there on the board. These are guys that are freaky athletes. I think Abdul Carter is just a phenomenal talent. He's only been playing the position 1 year, so I just think, oh my God, it's going to be great. Travis Hunter, we've never seen someone like that. Just a true unicorn. And I think on the back end of that, it's like I'm very intrigued by Jalen Milroe and the upside that he has at the position, because I think great arm, incredible athlete, could be faster than Lamar Jackson based on some of these testing numbers. And you've seen him already from the Senior Bowl. at the Senior Bowl, it didn't look great, but you could see he was working on his mechanics, working on his footwork, trying to fix those things. Looked better at the combine. You could see him continuing to progress. He understands the strides he needs to make. Jackson Dart's another guy that's on the board, but all of these guys are guys that you're either trading into the 20s or getting a 33rd overall pick. None of these guys are worth it. Shedeur, the most accurate passer in the game, but I still don't. I have him at 23rd overall on my big board. So maybe when he's in that range, I trade up and get him and see what you can get there. But ultimately, I just don't think quarterback is the way to go. I'm leaning Travis Hunter as of right now. I think he's the best wide receiver and best corner in this class. I think he's more dynamic than any other player in this class, period, with the football in his hands, what he can do to create. He catches everything. Just so smart. You can see the way he attacks defensive backs. You can tell he really knows how to attack defensive backs because he is a defensive back. He understands what kind of keys and what kind of things they're doing. And it goes both ways, and they go hand in hand. I don't know how much of both sides he'll play at the next level. I know Andrew Berry likes him a lot as a wide receiver, even if it's 15 to 20 plays on offense and mostly on defense, but they're getting him 5 to 8 touches a game. That's enough for him to raise the floor of this, to make this offense more dynamic, to make it way better than when it was last year, but also potentially giving you something on the defensive side. So ultimately, I lean Travis Hunter, and then I look for a guy like Milroe, Dart. Ultimately, I like Will Howard a ton in the 3rd round. I know he's limited physically, but I think overall he could run a Kevin Stefanski offense and put the Browns in a good spot. So no, not QB at 2 for me. I lean Travis Hunter, but we'll see soon this week. Can't wait. Go Browns.